welcome to the CritCast to anyone that can hear my voice. If you're still alive, if you're not bedridden, if you have not been destroyed and transformed by the C virus, this is the CritCast, where we like to talk about the intersection of art and entertainment, or, after the last few episodes I'm realizing, is just a lot of bullshit, just talking about whatever we want to talk about. Well, hopefully we can try and make it smart and fun for all of you. Today, we got 3 guests. We got Jill, we got Trent, and then we got our buddy Ree.
Back by unpopular demand. That's a lie. I'm sorry.
Damn.
So, the date is March 29th, 2020. We are in the midst of the C virus pandemic. Everyone is inside. Most people are already succumbing to cabin fever. I'm okay. I'm a weird hermit. But already our culture and our economy has to change. One of those things is that people are now watching a lot of shit. People are actually going out, it's like, okay, I'm going to be stuck inside for a while, so I'm going to watch the thing that I've been meaning to watch, or like catch up on some kind of backlog. And since we're all stuck in here at the whims and mercies of the internet service providers, I thought we could suggest some things for our viewers to watch. Like, what's a good movie or TV show or anime or something or podcast to catch up on? Something worth watching that could while away the hours and keep cabin fever from eating your head before you touch your face and you get the C virus. So, I guess we'll start with Jill. You got a suggestion to while away the hours?
First off, I'd like to say that ever since you've dubbed it the C virus, I've been actually taking it really well. I'm like, you know what? If I transform, then it happens. You know, at this rate, like the world's gone to hell. We're running out of toilet paper. You know how it is. But let's see. Suggestion-wise, I do have several. I don't really tend to watch much like actual TV stuff, like most people. So it's just me and anime. And I bet if I actually made my anime list account, it'd probably be ridiculous. But I guess just suggest a few binge watches. I mean, sometimes I put this up while like I'm doing my art on the side just for background noise. First off, Food Wars. Pretty awesome if you are into cooking, if you are into a little bit fan service, and if you're into how epic things can be. Food Wars is definitely the anime for you. 4th season just came out I think it was like last year or just recently. It kind of feels like the wrap up of the anime. And then, of course, you got Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer.
So tell us about Food Wars. What the hell is actually going on in Food Wars?
What the hell is not actually going on in Food Wars? That is the question. It's basically it starts off with this one kid, and you know he worked with his dad at this diner, and and he was really good at cooking. Well, just long story short, his dad ended up throwing him into this prestige like culinary school. And it's just this top notch. It's like Gordon Ramsay levels of just like professionalism. And if you've actually seen documentaries about Gordon Ramsay, it's pretty epic. But it's this really prestigious school, and only the best of the best actually go there with mad talent and anything. And it's just like a bunch of like really awesome dishes that they actually make throughout the anime, and it kind of makes my mouth water every time I watch it.
My understanding is that it's a shonen anime, but with cooking.
Yes, and that's 2 things that I just like slapped together. So,
and what was that about the fan service? I don't understand how that works with a show about cooking.
Okay, so for example, one of the characters. I'm gonna try and think of a really good one. Okay, so there's like this one character that like he's the big honcho, like he's I guess you can say like the principal of the school, and there is like there's something weird about their family line, right? Like if they taste really good cooking, their clothes go missing, and there's right. So there was like this pretty epic like I think it was like this autumn kind of like tournament thing or whatever that all the characters actually have to make dishes for, and like there's this one sweet little baby character, and it's really wholesome. She's like a country bumpkin or whatever, but she makes this really like warm kind of dish and stuff, and he likes it. And they rate her or whatever, and then she walks up, she's proud of herself, and like you don't see any clothes like necessarily blast off of him, but he makes a comment about like, well, like my powers actually did activate, but and like he just makes a comment that his underwear somehow vanished. But yeah, there's an example. It's pretty great. I'd have to send you a link, but if you like cooking if you like it being pretty intense, if you like shonen, go ahead and watch that.
I've never heard the term "my power is suddenly activated" for that
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes, that is definitely a thing.
My power suddenly activated in my pants.
Great, now all I'm thinking of is, I did it! It activated!
Okay, so Trent, what's your first recommendation?
So, I'm gonna take the exact opposite approach for this, and first
Okay.
one I'm gonna do is a Netflix show here called Merlin, which is a different take of the old Arthurian fairy tale or pastime and all of that shenanigans, where instead of Merlin being a wizard that had helped train and create Arthur into who he became. Instead, he was a warlock that had to keep his magic training in hiding, while he ended up being the servant to Arthur. After their first interaction, they basically, I wouldn't say fight, but Merlin made both of them run through a market and then humiliate him in public.
So what's the draw of Merlin?
It's the interesting take on it that instead of Merlin being this grand old wizard who lived in a tower out in nowhere and served the king and stuff like that, he was your typical servant of the person who he's helping and trying to help Arthur get out of certain situations. Like there was one where there was a tournament and somebody had a shield that came to life. And a snake would come out and bite somebody while he's holding the person down so nobody would see it. But he caught on to it and was able to find a way to activate it to show that the guy was a liar the entire time.
So is this like a live action medieval?
Live action, yeah.
Take place in modern day or something?
And everything. No, it's medieval.
Okay, because it kind of sounded like a gritty, sexy reboot of Merlin that you'd find on
I appreciate that. I might give it a look.
Yes, it's well worth the watch. I don't remember how many seasons it has, but they do get they do a different rendition of Excalibur that it's one of those things you have to watch, and I don't want to spoil that for you.
Okay. Well, I mean, you are recommending it for people who are stuck inside for like weeks on end, so I'm sure they'll have time.
Yeah, good point.
Actually, that sounds pretty cool. So it's medieval fantasy, right?
Yes.
Oh, neat. But it's still like young, sexy Merlin.
Yeah, actually, he's like early 20s, I think, and same with what's his name?
It's hip, young, sexy blank.
Old, sexy Merlin.
That's what you get with like CW and shit. But I don't know, that sounds pretty cool. All right, Ree, do you have a recommendation so that we can not go crazy while waiting for the world to end?
Yeah, since we're playing this whole genre of ping pong, I'm going to send us careening back in yet another random direction by pulling a podcast. And so I thought about it, and something that I've been listening to a lot lately and only recently actually caught up on is this podcast called Ologies by Alia Ward. And so if you couldn't tell by the name of it, Ologies is a podcast about this woman, and she's interviewing different quote-unquote ologists. And so she's had this passion product for like a decade, which I would have never guessed. I thought she was in her late 20s. Apparently she's actually close to 40, but whatever. And if you think a topic seems boring, you are in for a treat. Each episode's about an hour and a half or so, but she makes science actually easy to understand. Like, I was not a science person when I was in high school. I wasn't a science person in college. I took 0 science classes in college, I think, if I could help it. But I've actually gotten really fascinated in quantum physics and volcanoes. And you think hagfish are boring? Not after a hagfishology episode, you won't.
So this is the learning.
Yes,
the
this
learning
is learning
podcast.
And it makes it very digestible. And if you have audio processing issues, or if you want to listen to it with your kids, because I will say in the OG podcast you find on Apple Podcasts, there is swearing. She swears a lot. She apologizes to her parents a lot about it. It's very funny. But she has bleeped episodes if you want to listen to it with kids. She has transcript episodes. I think there are still a bunch that are still in progress, but she's got a transcript team that's making it more accessible to those with audio processing issues or are hard of hearing. And I think that's not only is that really cool, but she's making it accessible, and she's like in more ways than one. And there's still so many. She did a 2-part episode on my favorite animal, planet bats, and I thought that was the most delightful thing. I found out in the skeleton episode that we have a legal body farm in Texas where lots of different studies of science go and actually research decomposition. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's a bit weird.
Oh, I think I've heard about that. It's a big farm where they just put dead, decomposing bodies, and that's where forensic people go to train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's exactly it with Texas University or Texas A&M, one of the two.
I don't know if I could ever do that.
There's actually an interview process, and they get to know you before you die, which is kind of weird. But honestly,
no, I mean, inspect the dead bodies. After I'm dead, you can do whatever you want with my body. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, I've really, really been enjoying it. They've all are also actually conveniently enough, along with probably a bunch of other science podcasts, going over, this dreaded C virus. I almost said CVID, Corvid, birds. Bird flu too, electric boogaloo.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So yeah, they've actually gone over that recently, and it's been really cool. It's making science way more fun. More fun for me.
The listener.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that while people are stuck inside, there's actually been like an uptick in people trying to take like online classes and shit, which is productive. I'm not gonna do it because fuck that.
I mean, some people are being required to by their schools, so I can't.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to learn new things, but you don't want to shell out the money or take the time to download or pirate episodes or anything like that, it's free. Or you can kick a whole $1 a month. But I know we're sort of trying to pinch pennies these days, so completely understandable if you can't.
Wow, that's educational, and it can help you grow as a person. That's probably a much better recommendation than what I got.
Oh no!
I do have a question about that. I haven't
answer?
listened to it before, but do they bring in? Does she bring on like other professionals while talking about it, or is it just her?
No, yeah, it's an interview with an ologist. So like the 2-part bat episode was with a chiropterologist.
What?
Chiropterologist, the study of bats, which means hand wing.
Co-raptor?
Chiropter. So like CHIROPTER.
So it's like a chiropractor helicopter.
Sure.
It's the study of hand wings. But yeah, it's always like an interview with someone that is very knowledgeable in the field. You find out how they got into the field. Half the time, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's delightful. One of them got really, the one about snow actually got really tragic really fast. But the reason the guy got into the study was because his mentor died on a like a foot away from him.
That's a fucking anime backstory.
Yeah, it was wild.
My mentor died to blank, so I dedicated my life to fighting blank.
Basically.
Alright, so what have we had so far? We've had an anime recommendation, we've had live-action fantasy recommendation, and an educational podcast recommendation. So for me, I guess I'll round out our jumping around. If you got Netflix, I'm pretty sure you do. This is available on Netflix. They got, I think, all the Ip Man movies, and if you haven't heard of them, it's the movie that Donnie Yen stars as Ip Man, a Chinese, I believe he practiced, I think it's like Tai Chi martial arts, and he's the guy who taught Bruce Lee in real life. He taught Bruce Lee all his moves. So I believe there's 4 Ip Man movies, and Donnie Yen, you probably remember him from Star Wars Rogue One as that blind, staff-wielding dude who kicks a bunch of stormtroopers. You've also probably seen him in a bunch of other just martial arts movies because he's fucking great. And the Ip Man movies are just straight up like kung fu movies. Ip Man is, the embodiment of Chinese honor in a post-World War II world, right? And he's defending the honor of his town or his dojo, fighting the Japanese, and just punching and kicking the shit out of everyone. Like, he's like the best. And it is just straight up good kung fu. You want to see some good fight scenes? That's where you go. You want to see like Donnie Yen turn like 10 Japanese karate masters into paste with his fists just so he can prove the honor of the Chinese man? That's awesome. He always does that cool thing where he like stuns you and then hits you 1,000 times in your chest as you're falling to the floor. I love that. So have any of you seen those?
I definitely have. Wing Chun. That's the style.
Yeah, Wing Chun. Yeah. I'm sorry I got that wrong. But yeah,
I loved it. I literally binged on it. It was all on Netflix. I'm like, oh, today is the day,
Oh
Yeah,
man,
this-
speaking of binging,
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect time. You got nothing else. Just watch Donnie Yen just kick and punch the shit out of everyone, and it's great. It's classic kung fu, and it's all in Chinese. It's all subtitled, but I don't think that should stop you. Go out and watch more movies, idiots.
To quote the Parasite director, we should not let the 2-inch wall of subtitles keep us from great art. That's not the quote at all, but
It's a 1-inch tall
paraphrasing.
barrier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean it. Go out and watch more movies, and like I believe there needs to be more movies where you just kick the shit out of your oppressor, the imperialists. You don't try to reason with them or try to get to know them. Fuck that. If the Japanese come in and are oppressing your town, you just turn their chest cavity into bone dust. And
Turn
then
their
you do-
insides into outsides.
Damn.
Yeah, that's like that's basically the plot of all 4 movies. Someone is oppressing the town or Ip Man or his family, and it's usually like a big outside force, usually a foreign force, and it's like, fuck it, I'm the epitome of Chinese heroine. I'm going to like show up all of you, and it's great.
I definitely have to say Ip Man definitely was a refresher for me, because I haven't seen Jet Li in a while. So then it's like, oh, well, Ip Man, this gotta be good. And all of a sudden I see how fast this man moves. I'm like, what's the next one?
This is Donnie Yen. He's super cool, and he needs to be in more things in the American movies
I agree.
where he punches everyone to death. It's great. So back to you, Jill. Do you have another suggestion for people who are maybe ordering out and risking delivery drivers' lives for a pizza?
Okay, don't call me out on that because I just got Pokey delivered to me last night. We don't talk about that.
It's fine. Just be kind, be safe, and tip the shit out of these people.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got a tip. Jesus.
Yeah.
But
You got your next.
so speaking of ass kicking, maybe it's not okay. There is some ass kicking, but there is a lot of shooting, and there's only 3 movies as of right now. But I have to say, please watch John Wick if you have not already. I know it's only 3 movies, but by God, it's the 3 best movies I have ever seen involving the freaking guns in that movie. For people who don't know, and there's probably very select few who went, oh, what's John Wick? No, it's Keanu Reeves. It's Keanu Reeves, right? And he's playing this dude. His name is John Wick. And like he used to be a killer. Well, he somehow got out of the business. And starting in the first movie, not wanting to spoil anything, but certain things happen. These thugs mess with him, and they took from him. And because they took from him, he basically gets back into the suit, and he dishes out the violence. And God, you can probably hear the smile on my face as I'm talking about this movie because I just freaking love it so much. And it's just great how they have this one character that everyone is very aware of, and they're like, oh, that's the boogeyman,
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
Doom guy.
He kind of is Doom Guy. He gets beat up far more than Doom Guy, but yeah, just mows down guys.
Yeah.
Really funny that you're bringing this up because I just looked down. I'm chilling at DJ's old place. We're moving, and I'm looking down at this red box, and he's got chapter 3.
Oh
He's
my
just got
God! I just got it myself. I'm like, oh, watch this shit again. Yeah, definitely John Wick. Go and see it. There's gonna be a 4th one if we all don't perish by then. I think it's 2021.
Yeah, John Wick is the preeminent, like, less than top tier action movie out there, and at least in the American scene, and it's just so good.
It's so good because like Keanu Reeves, he actually does that shit. He actually messes with guns. He shoots, and it's so fluid. It's so like it gets you into that immersion. I'm like, damn, he knows what he's doing. He can do this in real life.
He's also professionally trained too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he could do this
like
shit.
months as well with SEALs and officers to learn half of the stuff that he knows.
Wait, hang on. I want to back up because I want to make sure I got this right. Like Keanu Reeves, the actor,
Yes,
worked with military to become the badass? I didn't know that. Wow.
The man pours himself into his work. When you ask him to do something, he'll spend months learning how to do it.
Brings a whole new meaning to method acting. Instead of dropping rats on your coworkers, just fucking learn shit.
Just learn it.
Keanu Reeves is a treasure, and it will be a loss when we don't have him anymore.
For real, like, I'm sitting here, and I'm just chilling. I'm watching John Wick, and all of a sudden, my friends come on. They go, "Hey, man, let's play some League." I said, "No, I am watching Mr. Breathtaking. Like, wait until I'm done." And I don't really respond to movies like that. I mean, I'd be, fucking, pause it. No, I want to watch John Wick.
Yeah. I would suggest if you're going to watch John Wick that you try to have a really good sound system, because when I went to see the first one, every gunshot hit me in the chest, and it was like, yes, this is loud and it's just chaotic. Well, not super chaotic, it's very well choreographed, but the sound really sells it. Every shotgun blast, every pistol hit, it's great.
I give it a lot, because normally when people make a sequel of a really popular movie, to me it feels like it never goes well. So John Wick comes out, I'm like, wow, this is great. Second one, I'm like, okay, well, I'll follow it because I really like the first one. Hell yes, man, it still kept up with my expectations. And then I'm like, okay, well, the third one is a stretch, because normally that's just when things start falling off. Nope, didn't even fall off whatsoever. In fact, it made I almost felt connected with the rest of the audience. Like, we all shared this experience together in the theater, because I'm literally watching this one scene, and I'm not going to say it because you have to watch it yourself, but there's the beginning was pretty intense, and certain things that happened in it, we're all like, ooh, oh, when people collectively do that, I was like, oh, I kind of have a friendship here for this movie.
Yeah, this is a good
all
movie.
Reacted the same way.
These are good movies to see with other people, because you can all get the ooh and ah moments together.
Oh yes.
So that's awesome. We got a John Wick recommendation. Trent, what's your next recommendation for people who maybe have to overuse their Wi-Fi and data?
Actually, I'm gonna take I'm gonna spin this on its head for a hot minute, and actually, I'm gonna do a book series that's kind of near and dear to my heart, called the Xanth series, created by Piers Anthony, and originally it was supposed to be a trilogy. This world called Xanth, which is one, I wouldn't say city, but it's more like a continent that's created and been birthed by magic. And there's a source that gives everybody in the continent magic. So each person has a specific power that's special to theirs. There might be ones that are different, like one person might have super strength in which they can punch anything and break it, but somebody else might have powers to just punch a rock and it explode. So there's always variations to powers, because how many powers can you really give somebody? And that's the whole premise. But basically the entire series is you must be a connoisseur of bad puns, because the basic idea and premise of this entire, originally a trilogy but now has over 30 books in it, is sex, puns, and magic.
Wow.
Sounds like a fun book series.
And the original series is about a character trying to figure out his magical power. So he's going on this truth-seeking adventure, but his power is out of this world. There were, I think it's 2 different types of magic. There's magician class and there's mage class. And mage class is under magician, so there was only 3 magicians in the world at any given time. One of them was a king. One of them was an old man who lived in a tower, not named Merlin. And the last one was a great sorceress. But there was a 4th one, and throughout the book, they find the 4th one because he was exiled, but then returned with people from the outside world, which most people called Mundania, because they were mundane, they had no magic.
How many books are in this series?
More than 30. I don't remember how many off the top of my head. I wish it was still a trilogy.
Okay, when you said that, I was like, okay, well, maybe you got 3, 4, maybe a Harry Potter amount of books, not 30.
Oh no, and there's, as far as I know, they're still going. It's just funny when my dad read this book originally. I'm looking at, there are 46, oh no, so right now, there are 42 books.
Oh yeah, so if we're stuck in these bunkers
this
for a while,
series.
you got your
The first book came out in 1977.
Ooh, long series.
Very long series.
I can appreciate that.
And honestly, each book really gets better and better the more you read and the more you go through it. It brings life to originally just one continent to the entirety of it.
Have you read? This is stupid. Have you read all these books?
I've only read about 10 of them.
Only about 10.
Only, you know.
Quick question from the Peanut Gallery. Who's the author?
Because author is Piers Anthony.
I know Piers Anthony. Oh my gosh. My dad is an avid book collector, so I feel like Piers Anthony is one of the few that he sort of bought all of the works from, and it sounds like he's in a similar vein of Anne McCaffrey, of like sci-fi fantasy.
Well, this is, medieval fantasy, but they do this weird time skip at one point in time. I don't remember which book, but it, hands down, I highly suggest this.
Oh,
and
man.
there's a character that when you read through it, you'll go, okay, who was the guy that suggested this again?
Well, I mean, that's you suggested the first physical thing to entertain yourselves rather than just digital media. So that's probably better than what I've got.
Well, I mean, you could also probably get it on get them all as ebooks as well. So, I mean, there's that too.
Reading is still classier than binging. Or, no, binge watching? Binge reading? Binge reading's a thing, right?
Binge reading's a thing, I think.
Okay.
It absolutely is.
Alright, so, what's your next recommendation for people who maybe have cleaned their apartment one too many times now?
Again, I'm gonna volley this back to the nonsensical, and we're gonna take a quick detour to YouTube. Specifically, a YouTuber who had recently captured my attention and has played me with his various content, Joe Cat. And specifically, Joe Cat's Crap Guide series. Many people are probably familiar with them, mainly from the Crap Guide to D&D with all the different classes. But he started them with Monster Hunter and all the different weapons in Monster Hunter that you can use. It's also where his signature Wiggler hat, assless chaps look came from. His viewership was actually starting to go down back before he started these because he was doing like overly edited series and video essays, things like that. And he wasn't really getting viewership that he thought he would, or it was starting to go down or stagnant. So he decided, hey, you know what, let's just do something weird and dumb and stupid. And so the Crap Guide was born. And so you get this alter ego, because I've actually watched one of Joe's streams. He's a very nice guy, but in these videos, he's loud, brash, monotone, sort of kick your teeth in, shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, and we'll just go on and on and on and on. Like, think Honest Trailers meets shitposts.
Okay.
That's the best way I can explain it. And something great about the series as well is that each of the little characters, at least once you get to D&D, they all have their own characters. Like, the monk, I believe, is Dragonborn. They're all about level 6. I'm guessing they're all in their own campaign. The changeling is a sorcerer. The bard is a tiefling, because of course it is. And while you're watching, you'll see in the background, sometimes characters make reoccurring appearances. Like in the Paladin episode, the bard shows up. And I believe in the Druid episode, the Paladin also shows up. And the bard also shows up. And Ranger? No. Yes. Maybe.
So what draws you to the Joe Cat's videos?
Joe Cat, yes. The reason that I'm drawn to them is if you're looking to binge something, but you don't want to just marathon something, like I've got ADHD out the ass, and so like sitting down to really binge something, either it needs to catch my attention real good, or it can't be too long, or else I'm going to be doing something else in 20 minutes. So there's a lot of them. So if you want to binge, you want that satisfaction of going down a long list of things, it covers that. But they're not super long. Like, they're each about probably 2 to 3 minutes, with the exception of the most recent one, which was a Crap Guide to D&D races, and that's, I think, a 3 or 5 minute rock opera ballad rap thing. Okay. And so it's a nice little blend of like, okay, I want to binge something, but I don't want it to be my whole day.
Okay, yeah, because these
Also,
are
the art is
short
very,
YouTube
very
videos.
yeah, and also the art is very, very good and very cute. And one time he turns into a plant.
Aw. Have you guys seen those? I think I've seen a few of his videos around.
I think my friends have linked it every once in a while, but I just like.
I have
never seen
watched
them.
every single, and I should not have.
Well, sounds like it's actually pretty popular, at least here.
Yeah,
I'd probably
I
give it a try. I
know.
mean, looking
You've
for new
shared
things on YouTube.
videos. I don't know if you're trying to be dramatically ignorant or what. You've shared the videos.
Oh, no.
before.
Oh
My
dear,
facade.
it's ruined.
I'm sorry.
The kayfabe
Called
is
out.
ruined. Oh.
Anyways, that's my thing.
Yeah, I've seen him around and I've linked his videos a few times, but I haven't actually subscribed to him. I probably should at this point, just to give him the traffic.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. His Nuzlocke is also pretty good. He did a little bit of animated stuff on that.
That's neat.
Yeah.
All right, so for my second recommendation, I'm surprisingly, this came out of nowhere for me. I'm suggesting another subtitled movie. This time it's One Cut of the Dead. Have any of you ever heard of this?
No.
Why does that sound familiar?
Well, it uses the Of the Dead title, which, you know, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. But this is a Japanese movie. Came out in 2017 on like a shoestring fucking budget. Like, I believe 25,000 in US dollars. And I'll admit, it is a slow start movie. But it's about a crew that goes out and tries to film a zombie movie, but they run into problems and they stop, and then they end up in an actual zombie attack, and things kind of spiral out from there. However, the movie is a comedy, and the reason it has such a slow start is because it's tough to talk about this movie without spoiling it, because it's got 3 distinct acts to it, and each of them are wonderful and build on each other to just a hilarious, like, 20-minute long punchline, which is great. You know, it's got these wacky Japanese antics, and everything in the movie pays off, everything connects together. And not only is it just screamingly hilarious, it's a loving ode to, like, the hardship of indie filmmaking, in the sense that, you know, just making a movie, it's all problem solving and things going wrong, things not working out but it's also the love of just making something creative, especially even if it's kind of derivative, like a zombie attack movie, which the movie knows it's being derivative of. It's available on Shudder.com, but that requires a subscription. I think Amazon Prime and YouTube have it, but you gotta rent it. But yeah, like, it's, if you ever wanted to watch a movie, if you're a fan of like zombie movies, if you're a fan of independent filmmaking, if you're a fan of like Japanese comedy, this is the movie to watch. It is. Not a lot of people have seen it. Well, I think a lot more people have seen it now that it's been 3 years, but it's like an underground hit. Really catch it if you can find it.
Yeah, it sounds all very, very interesting. I learned this fun fact, not from my ologies episode, but just from out and about, that amateur comes from this might actually be horseshit. I could be spouting nonsense from the internet, but amateur comes from some old word that meant like out of love, and from how you described it, this definitely sounds like a labor of love. It really embodies the whole amateur, but in like a positive sense.
Yeah.
In filmmaking.
And I'll readily admit, it's the first third of the movie, the one that really sets up everything, it's very slow. It can be boring. I will fully admit that. The movie is, you just gotta roll with it. You gotta roll with it till you get through the first act, and then it just takes off. Because the first act is just setting up a lot of things, and just showing you, like, okay, this is what we're doing, and then this is what we're doing, and then this is what we're actually doing, kind of deal. And it's great. Just trust me. It's hilarious. You might have to pay money for it, but it's well worth seeing it. And again, it expands your horizons. And by the end, you'll be like, I want to make my own movie. So I guess maybe a zombie movie isn't the best thing to suggest during the C virus pandemic. So, Jill, what would be your last recommendation for people who just want to get away from their roommates for a little bit?
Well, if you want to get away from your roommates a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead for the old book approach, because sorry, there's a lawnmower in the background. Alright, so I guess for the book approach, I usually recommend, this is actually the one book series that I'm actually really paying attention to. If you like fantasy, if you like modern fantasy, if you like guns, if you like monster hunting, then Monster Hunters International would definitely be for you. It's about 7 books long. It's written by Larry Correia. And basically, the book 1 starts off with this one character. His name is Owen Zastava Pitt. Pretty fancy name, right? But he's working at this 9-to-5 boring ass like accountant kind of job. Sorry if you're an accountant, I mean, but like he's working he's basically working a 9-to-5 job. Like he's just normal. He looks kind of, it's just very average, whatever. And then all of a sudden he notices that his boss is just the complete insufferable asshat and likes to always pick on him, because he's the new guy, right? So one time where like he just so happens to stay work late, his boss calls him in, and long story short, his boss turns into a werewolf, tries to eat him, and the main character puts his ass out through a 14-story window. And that was his introduction into monsters actually being real. And then he gets contacted at the hospital, where this other kind of like pretty important character comes along and invites him to join a monster hunting group called Monster Hunters International. And it's really great. It's a first-person kind of view, and I really enjoy the character because he's kind of like an ass when he wants to be. He's very sarcastic, and this is the descriptions of of what's going on with the action, and plus too, like the guy who's writing it is also a gun nut. So if he can, it's not going to put you off, but it kind of gives you the sense that he kind of knows what he's writing about when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, like all the characters so far, I really haven't had any I like them all pretty much, and it's very interesting how he has a different take on monsters in the modern world. Like for a good example, like gnomes, they came across gnomes in one of the volumes, and the gnomes had migrated over to America. And they started taking an extreme interest in gang-related stuff. So, like, you just see a bunch of tiny, gnome little men, and they're like gangsters. So, like, okay. out in the boonies, kind of thing. With the gun, like the human-sized gun, tucked in their tiny belt, and they're like, "Well, yo, what's up? I'll mess up your face."
And can I get some clarification? This has no affiliation with the Monster Hunter video game series?
No, it does not. I thought it did too. Which is funny because what is that? Max at the time, he got the first book from me, and he was like, "Oh, I saw Monster Hunter, and I thought maybe you like it because you play Monster Hunter." And I was just like, "Well, this has nothing to do with the Capcom series. This is his own book." But the more I started reading it, the more I started really getting into it, and it was like 96 cents for me to get into this book series.
How many books are there?
So there's 7 in total so far. The seventh one just recently came out in like August. They have other spin-off books too, but I'm not really too big a fan of those.
Okay, so not quite the 40 books from over 40 years as the Zant series, but that sounds pretty cool. I like modern takes on classic mythical stuff.
Oh yeah, like the gnomes, for example. Elves, for example. Elves are not exactly majestic, Lord of the Rings-y kind of things that we know. Think Trailer Park.
Oh, that feels like the antithesis of the elf as we typically know them.
Yeah, like literal trailer park elves. But yeah, there's so much more in the way that they introduce how monsters are in the modern time, because everything is kind of dealing with monsters it's big secret. The government has a really big part in keeping that on the down low. Okay. So anytime anyone
Men in Black setup,
right? It's a real Men in Black kind of setup. So if something happens to a monster attack, right, and then the person survives it, then the government will come in quick and be like, "You don't tell anyone else. You don't tell anybody about this, or else." It's that kind of thing.
Dang.
So really good. The first one, you can easily find the whole series on Amazon Prime. The first one is actually free right now. So if you want to get into it, it's definitely worth a read.
Oh, cool. I guess if people want to brush up on keeping people away from taking all their toilet paper, that they can read that book.
there you go.
All right. So, Trent, what would be your recommendation to distract us from the dissolution of civilization?
And then I'm going to go 180 on myself this time and do something a little more modern for a show called Lethal Weapon on Netflix.
Oh my god.
Is that based on
It's a
the
TV
movie?
show too, and it's actually
Yeah.
really good.
Is it?
Yes, I thought it was
concerned.
All right, tell us about it.
Yeah.
I was concerned.
So it's the first 2 seasons of it. There's 3 seasons, but so the first 2 seasons is it's a buddy cop show. You have your typical ex-Navy SEAL who lost everything, has a crippling drug problem, having a hard time getting along with everybody, and then he has a partner who's Detective Daddy. He's got a family. He's always looks out for the best interest of his family and the people he works with. Except every single situation they get into, it seems that he's putting his life in danger to help his new partner. Even though he's saying, like, you gotta stop doing this, he still does it.
All right, so does it have any connection with the Lethal Weapon movies?
Not that I can think of, but it's the premise of the idea of, two
Buddy cop.
one by the rules cop and one rogue cop who's willing to put his life on the line for a situation.
Okay.
Idea is the same.
So what makes the show good?
It's for me, it's the characters inside of the show. It's still very like actiony, where it's like everybody talks in one-liners and the plot's non-existent.
Okay.
But the characters, how they talk to each other, feels more natural throughout the series. So at first, it's, they're all butting heads together over certain situations and how to do things. But then eventually, they start coming together for ideas, and everything starts to feel natural on how they do things. It's like they don't even have to tell each other what they're doing. It just happens naturally, and somebody still gets pissed off about it.
Okay, cool. I always had I was concerned about like shows like, oh, we'll take the movie and we'll make it a TV show or something like that. I always had a wariness about that.
I really did like the Lethal Weapon movies, but I actually liked the show a little better than the movies.
Ooh, okay. All right, so that kind of assuages some concerns, so maybe I will try it. So, Reed, what would be your third recommendation for people who see virus joke?
Man, I was hoping for a certain sea virus joke, but I'll make it myself. You'll see it in due time. I want to take a trip back in time. The year is 2009. Currently, the #1 song on Billboard's Top 100 is Lady Gaga's Poker Face. And on one April morning, a young man stands in his bedroom, and it happens to be his 13th birthday. Bitches, I'm talking about Homestuck.
Oh,
I've never
monster.
seen it.
It's... I put so much research into that fucking intro. So, for the uninitiated, Homestuck is a webcomic. It's not the longest running webcomic for it since completed, except I'll get to that. Started in April 13th, 2009. It was a fun little project that the author, Andrew Hussey, was doing with his fans who had followed him in previous adventures such as Problem Sleuth and Bard Quest and Jailbreak, I believe, was the last one. And all of this was found on mspaintadventures.com, which has now since been called homestuck.com because of course it was. This webcomic was a pivotal cultural game changer in many different ways. It's the reason Newgrounds crashed 3 times in a row in 2011. It's the reason that there was a long rash of time where people would hear the word troll and cringe for more than just the internet comment and would fear the gray paint and candy corn horns. It's a whole thing. So this monster, in total, as of right now, the completed first story of Homestuck is 8,123 pages long, consisting of 7 acts of visual, written, and animated and audio adventures. Some of them are interactable, some of them less so. It starts to make no sense after a while, but it was the most entertaining thing I had read in a really long time. And it's definitely binge-worthy, considering when I first got into it, it was probably about halfway through, and it took me 2 weeks to get caught up. So right now there's probably about a whole month's worth of content. No, not even, probably months is plural worth of content for you to get into. And it's created amazing artists. It's given names to some noteworthy musicians. Toby Fox may come to mind. He started on Homestuck and he made the revolutionary game Undertale. And Deltarune, which is its second chapter, is in the works. And we all thought it was over in 2019, and I wish I could say it's over. I'm both delighted and horrified to say that we're on Homestuck 2.
You're gonna have to like explain what exactly the fuck is happening in Homestuck, because I'm aware of Homestuck, but this is like some prehistoric internet shit.
This is not prehistoric. Come on, 2009 isn't that long ago. It's only
that's prehistoric
9 years
internet
ago. 11 years ago. I do math.
That's prehistoric by internet terms. I put that alongside like albino black sheep.
That's fair. The tagline for it is a boy and 3 of his friends play a game together, which doesn't say much.
Is there just something happening in it? Because it's like Homestar Run. It's like, I don't know why people like this thing, but people reference it all the time.
I promise there's a plot. It's very hard to follow. A lot of people. Supposed to be hard to follow? You know what? At this point, I think so. At this point, I cannot say. It's starting to get really meta and confusing at this point in Homestuck 2, so I can't really say for certain. There's multiple timelines, and it plays around with the concept of paradox space, like timeline jumping in general, like alpha timelines versus split timelines, what happens when you cross those beams, morality, and relationships, and how people's interactions with one another can change depending on how they interact, which I thought was fascinating. There's lots of goofs, there's lots of murder, there's lots and lots of stuff. I wish I could do a good job of explaining it. Some parts will make you so mad that you'll wish you never read it in the first place. Some parts will make you so happy you'll laugh so hard you cry. At least I did. There were some parts for me that actually did move me to tears because it was so beautiful. It's more like, honestly, like now that I'm talking more and more about it, it's less of a webcomic and more of an experience. It's certainly not for everyone. I will always acknowledge that whenever I talk about this. It's certainly not for everyone. The beginning is very slow and can seem very nonsensical, and that's because like the very first act was a lot of fan-submitted content that ended up being part of the canon, so that's why it seems a little stupid.
It kind of sounds like it started out the same way every webcomic did, which was this was supposed to be once a week one-offs, but now it's a thing.
It became a whole story. But yeah, I will repeat myself for infinity on this. I highly acknowledge people give it a shot. I understand if you find it's not for you, but if you do enjoy it, then be either delighted or horrified to know that it's still chugging along to this day with more content once a month.
It's weird seeing ancient internet stuff still around. That's crazy. I guess that's why people were excited.
Yeah.
I guess that's why people were excited when Homestuck 2. I saw that, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's actually one of the ways me and DJ started talking, which that's why it's so special for me.
Isn't Homestuck 2 called Has Been Hotel?
You take that back right now.
Oh no. Is this a bad thing? I don't know what either of those things
I don't know
are.
what it is. I have no idea.
But that was how it was explained to me at one point in time for Has Been Hotel, was that it was Homestuck version 2.
Has Been Hotel is just a different thing entirely, and I could speak about that and like the controversy surrounding it, but that is not for me to say at this time.
I guess that's two different things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alright, I guess we got that cleared up. My final recommendation, this time you won't need subtitles, but in these times of uncertainty, sometimes we need something that just feels good. But also isn't fucking stupid, something that uplifts you, makes you a little bit smarter, and I would suggest watching The Good Place. I believe seasons 1 through 3 are on Netflix, season 4 is on Hulu, but
What? Really?
Yes, I believe so, since Hulu bought it out. But the season 4 is finally, it ended this year, and it had an awesome finale. For those of you who don't know, The Good Place is a Michael Schur comedy. He's the guy behind things like Community, or Parks and Rec, or a lot of episodes of The Office. He's great. He's a great writer. And it's about Eleanor Shellstrop, a shitty woman from Arizona who dies while picking up some margarita mix, and she ends up in The Good Place, which is the afterlife. She's greeted by Michael, played by Ted Danson, saying, "Hey, welcome to The Good Place. You can have anything you want. There's like 18 frozen yogurt stores for some reason, but it's perfect. You're a good person." And we know clearly that Eleanor is not a good person. So in order to try and stay in not heaven, it's never said heaven or hell, she enlists the help of Chidi Enegonye, I forget his ethnicity.
Ethics teacher.
Yeah, he's an ethics teacher, to try and teach her how to be a good person. And every episode is like, okay, this philosopher, this person, or this way of thinking about being good, or ethics, or morality, and they try and work it out. Is this what it means to be good? Is this a good way of thinking? And it's also just screamingly hilarious, because it's just all sorts of puns and good clean jokes, but it's also just, and this is what I love most about Michael Schur comedies, they are also just so very kind. All the jokes, everyone is just kind of nice to each other. Yes, they make fun of each other, they have insults, but it's kind to everyone. And it believes in kind of the best in every person, that we can be better, that we can get along. And there's like no real villains, but everyone's just kind of a goofy cartoon. Michael Schur's shows take place in like this alternate cartoon universe in the sense of their stylings. And I would say watch all of it, because The Good Place is legit one of the best TV shows of the last decade.
Yes, me and DJ have also been watching that. I got so mad when Netflix's ended on season 3 and I couldn't watch season 4. I was visibly, audibly distressed. Something I also love about Michael Schur, because he also did a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh yeah, he also did that.
Is that every episode he uses, not only is it good and kind, but almost every episode he uses subtly or not, is given as a learning opportunity, both for the characters and then on the outside perspective for the viewer as well, which I thought was like very, very well done in The Good Place.
Yeah, Michael Schur comedies are smart but not overbearing about it. They try and teach you something, but while also giving you some laughs. And I have to say, Michael Schur comedies, or at least The Good Place, has some of the best signage jokes this side of The Simpsons. Every restaurant has just a goofy, punny name, and it's so good and funny. I love it. Like all the restaurant names, it's like Beignet and the Jets, or what was it, Foot Lager, or like a beer restaurant, or a muffin stand in Australia is We Crumb from a Land Down Under.
That's a good one.
It's so funny and so good, but it's so smart and kind, and I love the way it ended, because clearly this show is about being in the afterlife. Everyone's dead already. So like, how do you end that? And the show makes a good argument, trying to place all of its philosophies in order to make sure that we can understand, and what the show thinks is like, okay, this is a good explanation for the afterlife. Not to mention all the characters are hilarious, like Jason Mendoza, the walking embodiment of Florida man.
Jacksonville.
Excellent.
Spoiler alert.
Or Tahani, a rich heiress, very tall, very sexy, but she's like on a first name basis with literally everyone. She's like, oh, my best friend Gordon Ramsay taught me how to make a burger. It's so funny. Everyone, and Eleanor Shellstrop, she's good. She's supposed to be just kind of a shitty person, but she might learn how to be good or something. And just give it a watch. All 4 seasons are on the internet, just in different places. First 3 seasons are on Netflix. Please watch it. It's so good, so kind, very smart. I put it up next to like BoJack Horseman in terms of best TV shows of like last decade.
Beans, and that's another show I need to watch. People have been saying, don't do it. It's gonna break your heart. I'm like, that's what I'm here for.
That's kind of the point with BoJack Horseman.
Oh yeah, also Rick and Morty. That one's a little controversial, but don't forget Rick and Morty season 4 is up, if that's your jam.
Maybe. but we won't be able to cover everything. I'm sure, considering how long this quarantine and lockdown and the end of civilization as we know it's going on, we might have another episode. Who knows? But
until then, make sure you're comfortable stuck in your home.
Yeah. So thank you, Jill, Trent, Ree, for coming in today and recommending things to watch or do while we're all stuck in our homes.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, I'm glad to have you guys on. So I wish you all a good day. Everyone be safe out there. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't go outside unless you really need to. And y'all have a good night. Be safe out there. Bye.
Bye.